It wouldn't have been a complete 2022 if I hadn't been to the Bushcraft Show, but this year I wasn't just packing for that. I was lucky enough to have won an online competition to go deer stalking in Scotland, so filling up the truck with 2 weeks' gear came first before meeting up with Steve from the State Detective to convoy to Stamford Hall in Lutterworth. The drive in the Navara was good. The engine had been running beautifully since I rebuilt the head with Tom last year, a video of which will be coming out soon along with a load of other projects I've done to it. It was nice to be going on a summer getaway with Ellie, something we've been yearning for a long time. This year in particular, there were so many new faces coming to the show that I couldn't wait to share the experience with. Woesman listeners, new viewers and good friends who just hadn't come before. I could already tell this was going to be a trip to remember. After catching up with some familiar faces at East Anglian Bushcrafts camp and forgetting to film due to the excitement, we set up the rooftop tent, foxwing awning and got camp in order for the next 4 days. With that being done, it was time to crack a few tins, kick back and relax, followed by heading down to the main arena on our way to help Tom and his dad Mike set up camp, just like I have so many times before. Tom had opted for a hammock setup, which unbeknownst to him would be duly upgraded on this very trip after Mike accidentally pruned the lacing system while clearing some branches. It felt so good to be back in a place that feels familiar. Even with the new location, the same excitement for the event to come was high in everyone. Steve had all of his State Detective products on display and was readily supplying the troops with quality jerky, which along with a waffle dessert helped me end the hunger from a day's travelling. And talking about food, it's always one of those things that Tom and I make an effort to do right at this event, and tonight wasn't any different. A joint of beef to be slow roasted over the fire and a TJM Metalworks spit meant for a great few hours cooking, and in turn meant for a great communal evening, and great laughs were still yet to come. We were joined for the evening by a few people, including Josh of Feared Woods, who had brought along my new Evo Pro knife, made with AEBL stainless steel and elm burl handles, a true work of art and practicality. Not only did we share skills and stories, but also delved into the world of pipes with Tom for a traditional evening around the fire, like our ancestors must have done so often. I was trying Capstan Blue, Tolkien's favourite blend for the pipe, and it seemed fitting to be memorialising this moment with good friends in a beautiful woodland. Likewise, it was good to be sharing such a great bit of meat, cooked in the traditional manner. With Tom carving it to perfection using his parang, and Steve supplying the sauce, we sank into the evening with full stomachs and plenty of drinks between us. The first morning is always a day to get things in order, find your feet and get your bearings. It was time to shave away my annoying stubble and get my kit in order. I was so happy to already start meeting viewers of my channel. Ben and Yvette noticed the truck and came over with a beautiful handmade wax canvas pouch filled with homemade beeswax and waterproofing wax, an amazingly kind gesture and items that I'll be using on future trips. Although the show was fairly quiet, with the main crowd arriving in the next few hours, there were some great stalls already open. So I grabbed an unhealthy breakfast and caught up with people like JJ Outdoors, another face of the Bushcraft Show. The crowds that were gathering were all around the various vendors, including Luke of York Knife, who were selling some absolutely beautiful, unique pieces. Sharing skills has always been a part of the show that I've enjoyed the most, and watching the Wild Way Bushcraft team gralloch deer with students was inspiring and acted as a good visual reminder for my trip in Scotland following the show. Tom, having been set up near a pheasant pen, but still in the designated wild camping area, unfortunately had to change locations of his camp. So after meeting up, we relaxed at the new location to catch up with Josh, and all played with our new knives, a trio of brother blades from one maker. And it's that makes the show so important to me. The companionship, camaraderie, and sheer good times are unrivaled in this kind of environment. and sharing the trip with Ellie made it that bit more special. The show was starting to wake up, and so was my belly again. So after a good feed and listening to Will Lord give a talk, we caught up with a few people and started to look around some vendors to check out some of my wishlist items. And yes, there are too many to count. Ellie had picked up a walnut spoon blank during the day, and using my old carving kit started to fashion a bowl. It was her first time using a crook knife, so small cuts and some good technique pointers from myself and Tom got her going in the right direction. Meanwhile, I got the truck sorted and used my new Helicon Tex rubbish sack to store all of my waste. It's a dry sack that prevents wet goods from spilling over into your kit. And talking of camp admin, Tom and Mike had also been busy, both collecting firewood back at their camp and cooking up a chilli salt loaf in a cast iron oven for everyone to share along with the rest of the evening's food before the night's entertainment began with live music, dancing, and generally good times. The only way to start the morning after a heavy night drinking is boksek. Yep, you heard me, boksek. That roughly translates to game-changing bacon, or Polish bacon. It's been a serious addition to this year's breakfasts, and the smell, combined with the sound of bow drill being practiced, brought a smile to my face. Again, another spontaneous combustion of kindred spirits getting together and making a daily norm into something not only fun, but bringing a different sense of content by sharing skills and foods with others. After a good feed and heading to the show, we met up briefly with Bill Kincaid, a true inspiration at age 74, who gifted Ellie a walking stick that he'd hand-carved into a perched bird at the perfect height for her underarm. A true gift and a memory I know Ellie will treasure for a lifetime. Moments with friends like these make time so special, and it's great to catch up with people like Martin, Nigel Outdoors, The Wild Spoonie, all Instagram bushcrafters that I've followed for years but met at this very show. And the same goes for Brown's Bushcraft, who was there selling his array of wax canvas and wool goods, another familiar face that keeps me coming back, and so do the tools. I'd needed an excuse to buy a new crook knife, and with Ellie's smaller hands she needed something to suit compared to the larger one in my old kit. We picked up a beautiful piece from Ben Orford that we could both use for future carving projects. Ellie has been working closely with ceramics and pottery since leaving university, studying ancient history, so it was great to finally have the opportunity to meet Paul Smith and also to introduce him to Ellie. They spoke about all things clay, primitive pottery and kiln technology, and with some beautiful pieces on display, it was testament to Paul's skill. I can only say that it was a shame for his pitch to have been so tucked away, but it was one of those gems that I'm glad I stumbled upon after following his work online for some time. Giles Newman was also nearby displaying his new works and teaching students. His carving pieces have always been an inspiration to myself and Tom, and after seeing his intricate work, Ellie picked up a snake pendant carving kit to work on around future campfires. Following along with the skills display was Will Lord, a true master, demonstrating the art of napping the obsidian into a sharp, incredibly beautiful black hand blade. He was joined for the weekend by his team, one of which being Sarah Day, a past instructor at Woodlaw who was on the first course I ever attended at the Bushcraft School. The rest of the afternoon was spent back at camp, sharing skills and food, with Tom helping a good friend David obtain his first ember on the bow drill, and it's never tiresome watching the joy people get from such a primitive and magical process. With the main evening drawing to a close, music beckoned us back to the main stage, and we sang into the night as a hell of a send-off to a good show. The final morning is always a damp one. Maybe not even weather-wise, but knowing that reality calls is always the moment that we seem to avoid the whole time. Sorting out the kit bomb in the rear of the truck was first on the agenda, shortly after getting Ellie's coffee on, that is. Jack, Ellie and I all went to meet Tom and Mike for a final breakfast. Box egg, sausage, black pudding and egg in a soft white bread roll was on the menu. I've always loved cooking breakfast, especially over a campfire, and with Tom's new Petromax fire pit, it made for easy cooking off of the ground. The eggs were fresh from our 3 hens and would make a tasty addition to the meat dominating the menu. It really did make for a great morning, soaking in the last of everyone's company. But finally, it was time to pack up the tent. Ellie and I have got it down to a tight routine with the rooftop tent, and have a good method to pack away swiftly. Working as a pair really does make camp life so much easier, and it's so nice to share an event like this with someone who also appreciates the joy of being outdoors. Join me next time when Ellie and I overland to the north of England and into Scotland for the start of what became the trip of a lifetime.